let me just say right off the bat that I expect this video to be long, but what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to maybe just edit it lightly, but what I'm going to do is actually put like a index on it, like at the I guess either in the comments or in the description. I'm going to put a little index with just like, you know, what I talk about at different parts in the video, with where you can just like click on that, just to make it easier. I don't know if you can actually do it like inside the video. That would be better, but because I know YouTube, they kind of recently made it, you know, they really limited your ability to add little like annotations and stuff like that, you know, and everything. So I don't know, because that would be the best way. Then you can just click, because I know people don't want to go to the comments and stuff, and then yeah, that'd be easier. Then I could just say like, you know, just have on there like one section, and then it would say like, you know, oh, click here to skip to this section, or, you know, oh, like, you know, whatever, that, you know, kind of like just make it easier for people to kind of navigate just kind of the parts of the video they want to watch and that they think might be interesting. So, and maybe none of it's interesting, but, you know, so anyway, so I'm just going to try to do that to make it a little easier on people. We'll see who actually, I'll have to look at the analytics to see who actually watches like 100% of the video, although that might just be people who fell asleep with YouTube on and just the autoplay kept going. So, you know, anyway. So coming to you from Wentzville, Missouri, where it's actually colder than it is where I live in Duluth. Right today I was checking the weather, and I did a little video on that, which you can check out. And yeah, Wentzville, Missouri, it's a suburb of St. Louis. I was staying at my sister's house, and then I'm going back to my mom's house, and mostly because I want to kind of work on the van over there while I'm staying in town. I want to stay in town a little more. Plus, I've got some friends I want to see too. That it's closer there. This is more a lot further out of the usual St. Louis area. I mean, it's kind of really on the fringes. It's one of those areas that just didn't have many people, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago or something. Definitely maybe like 15 years ago. I can't remember. I guess, has my sister been out here about 10 years? Yeah, I guess she has. I guess she moved here shortly before I moved to Duluth. And then, so, yeah, it's just one of those that things like, St. Louis is one of those cities where people just kept moving, you know, further and further out, and just to get cheaper homes or whatever, you know, but, which is kind of sad, because then it's like it kind of ruins like some of the inner places in the city and stuff like that, because people are just in, and then they come out and just like take up farmland and stuff. So it's like, you know, but anyway, but it's not too bad an area. I kind of like it. Okay, it's just it's basically, I think, probably from here, I think it's probably like an hour to downtown St. Louis, I think. Now, and you know, most people do commute, but they don't all necessarily go all the way to downtown St. Louis, or, you know, or some other part of the like my brother-in-law, he works in Chesterfield, so that's not really too bad. I mean, it's kind of far from here, but and then my sister, she's a school teacher, she teaches out here someplace, so it's like, you know, I guess that's another thing. I guess a lot of the businesses end up moving out too, right? You know, so it's like eventually, but it's like 8 in the morning, so I guess I'm going to really hit the rush hour traffic today, but, you know, but I could have waited, you know, a little longer just for the traffic to die down, but I just really wanted to get down. So maybe I got to like sit through a little rush hour traffic every once in a while, just to kind of like be happy that I'm in Duluth, where you don't have to deal with that kind of thing. So anyway, so I have my little list here of things I wanted to talk about, although they're not necessarily in a good order. So let me just I came up with a good way of mounting this camera, so it should be pretty good. Well, I mean, it was one of these kind of like one of those flexible tripods that I basically kind of Gorilla taped to the dashboard. I mean, hopefully it'll be okay. Not too much of the glue. I mean, I'll have to come up with a better system eventually, but I actually found that was a good place to put it. As far as the other day when I was using GPS, that was a pretty good place. I guess you just got to be careful. It's, you know, because technically you're not even supposed to block it's against the law to really, I think most of the time you can put anything across the dashboard, but, you know. So anyway, so yeah, I'm going back. One of the reasons I want to go back to my mom's house is because I want to do some more work on the van there before I head back home, because I wanted to get the van at least pretty much quote unquote complete before I went back on my trip. You know, I mean, it's never going to be completely done, but it's I wanted to at least get to a point. There's a few things I want to do where I kind of kind of happy about like, okay, at least where like I want everything, my goal is to have everything that has like a specific place where it belongs, and then I keep to my system, and I just kind of, and then I might like on the way back to Duluth maybe stop and camp a couple places. Yeah, I know it's cold, but but it stays warm in here, just so I can kind of maybe feel a little happier about okay, that I had that my system worked and it was successful and it wasn't like too like stressful, because the system I had before, it was kind of like a half-baked system, so it was kind of like stressful at times when I was on that trip to Nebraska, which is called the Journey series on this channel, because it just got really stressful. And that's one of the, I actually did a video talking about lessons learned during my trip, and I think I may not even end up uploading, because I think I decided I didn't like it that much, but anyway, but that is one of the things I learned. It was just that it was being organized. I mean, I know it's important. I would have definitely said that before, but I just really realized like, okay, yeah, that's definitely important, because it makes things really stressful. It just makes it really just like you feel I don't know, I get kind of like, because you're in this small space and it can kind of feel claustrophobic, but not always. I mean, because a lot of times claustrophobia is just more like if you feel like you're kind of like stuck in a situation where you can't get out of it, so you could almost like sleep in a coffin, but as long as you knew like the lid was maybe not like wood, okay, but anyway, you could get in a really small space, but if it was something like, let's say it was made of foam, and you knew like you could just like punch out of it if you needed to, or you could easily get out, you could maybe stand it, as long as, but it's the feeling of being trapped, I think, is more the claustrophobia. But hit some traffic here, but part of the things I would kind of get like this feeling of, okay, if things are cluttered and I got like blankets laying around and all this other stuff and tubs, different, because I don't really have, and then that makes it feel really like cluttered, like, oh man, just that, having that little bit of, at least having your little small space in the van be uncluttered, that just gives you a better feeling. And then it's just kind of like, then when I can't find something, it's kind of like this feeling of like panic. I go, oh man, just like, and it's just, that's just something that's really important, that's maybe not so important in a house. I mean, but because I was thinking in one way, so we think about like vans being about a lot of times like not having possessions or minimalism, which I'll talk about that. I mean, I don't really even think it's really about minimalism, but let's just say but in some ways you got to cling more tightly to your possessions, because you have a few possessions that are really important. Like, it's always important for you to like really all the time know where your keys are, and then maybe there's a few other things like a flashlight. Maybe you almost need maybe a utility belt like Batman, like with all the different stuff, or maybe if you had like a go-go gadget arm with like with like your key, your flashlight, and maybe definitely your phone, right? You gotta have your camera. And so so that's definitely, so I wanted to kind of feel good about my system, and also, like, I decided I really wanted to make, because that system I had, my bathing system that I was coming up with, and the whole personal I realized that needs to be a lot more efficient for me to want to be able to do it very often. And if I do it more often, it'll just make the trip go better. I mean, maybe it's just it'll make the whole thing go better, because you just start, I think that it's a big morale booster as far as like making you feel better, I think, on the road. And so I've got a system set up where I'm going to have like some water, this basin that has like a little thing where I can fill it with hot water, and then kind of like, and then flip the switch, and then it drains it. So it's not exactly like a sink. It's not going to be like where you run water over your hands, but more where you can keep like just filling the basin, wash, put soapy water in it, and then drain it. I mean, hopefully it'll work. And then I'm going to have a system for storing water, because basically it's going to consist of one of those 5-gallon Home Depot tanks, and then I'm going to have a thing where it fits in the back okay, and so I'm going to have to cut a little hole so I can like stick like a bottle through to get it. And now my idea, and I think this sounds good on paper, we'll see how it really works out, was because since this is going to be geared, I want this thing to be like geared toward cold weather camping, at least be like resistant to cold weather, even if it doesn't really happen. But my idea is basically fill this 5-gallon thing up, and I think maybe fill it only to like 4 gallons. I'll have to figure out. I think it's like water expands like 10%, or maybe a little more. So basically, but figure out like how much water I can add to it. Like maybe put some kind of line in there to where I don't fill it. So I know that even if the thing completely freezes, it's not gonna expand, it's not going to like break the thing, or at least I don't think it will. I think it'll just like, if it starts freezing, that top will just start, you know, it'll freeze. We know water freezes from the top first, and then it, and I think as long as, well, I guess it's possible maybe that top could freeze, and maybe I guess it could stick, that ice could stick strong enough to the sides that maybe it could kind of like keep the other water that starts freezing from like coming up, and maybe it could still like put pressure and cause the thing. I mean, I don't think that's what'll happen. I think it'll have enough pressure where it'll just keep forcing that ice up and not like wreck the thing, you know. So as long as you make sure that there's enough room in there where it can expand, like I think it won't like ruin, even if it completely freezes, I don't think it'll ruin that container. And because water is kind of interesting, because I think it's like it's kind of different than most substances. So it has like, I think its maximum density is like around 36 degrees possibly or something. Can't really look that up right now, but and then the ice, and then, you know, then the top freezes, of course, and then so my idea is what I could do is, as long as I, you know, check it every once in a while, what I do is I go out there, and then, you know, now the thing, if I'm in the vehicle enough, it might stay kind of like still stay above freezing, because you know, some heat still comes with the insulation. But let's say it starts freezing, maybe I could go out there once a day or something, or maybe it just, what I would do is just get something like, kind of like, maybe get some, I don't know what I'd want to get, some kind of like, something to kind of like stick something through that ice or something, or, you know, something to grip that ice, or some way, like some rod, maybe some rod that like stays in there, that like has like feet on it kind of, and that you can pull up, so they kind of like, okay, so basically it's kind of like being like, if you remember like the beginning of that movie Frozen, where they're picking up all that ice, something like that. So basically you take that top layer of ice off, and then just fill it, and then once that ice is gone, just have like a jug of water that you fill up someplace, and just fill that to the you know, to whatever that line is. And then I don't know, I think that might be a good way. It's so in a sense what you're doing is, so water as it freezes heats up, so in a way you're kind of like heating water with water. So maybe, yeah, maybe that'd be a good clickbaity type title, you know, like how to heat with water. But, well, technically I guess if you only cared about it being above freezing, then all you'd have to do is just have, like, if you had a bunch of gallons of water in there, you just have to, they would freeze, as they froze, they would heat up the room, and then the van, and then you just like replace that, and then, you know, so you could actually heat with water. Now there is things like, I had thought about this before, like ideas of like phase change materials, which water is one of them, but there's other materials that have that same property of like melt, where they melt, whenever they melt they absorb a lot of heat, and then when they freeze they give off a lot of heat, and then and it's I had thought about stuff like that before, you know, like there's ones that like have where they melt at more like a higher temperature, like something like, you know, like 90 degrees. I think one of them was like, it was like sodium, it was Gluber salts, it was called. It was but it's kind of like funny, I think I heard about that Gluber salt a long time ago, but it seemed like I looked online, everything I read, it didn't seem like I could find anybody who had actually put together a system doing it. So, and especially not even in a house where it'd be more practical, but even for like a solar heating. But maybe it does exist, but I just haven't been able to find that. It's just, I mean, and when you look it up, like Gluber salt for phase change, but it seems like everything is just one of these like academic, like, you know, physics journal type things, that where it's probably, you know, no one's done it. And then you'll see like this thing where you'll be on one of these forums. Now this is annoying. Sometimes you'll go on these forums and someone will be talking about something, and then you're like, okay, then you read to the end, and finally it's like, yeah, I guess that's not going to work, you know, or something like that. And then it's like, kind of like a lot of these YouTube videos where you watch it and you just know like it's not going to, what they're going to do is probably not going to work, and then you're going to watch the whole thing and then just find out just that they're, you know. Now I know that's, you know, so sometimes I come up with these ideas like that, and it's just, I know it might be kind of like far out there, but I guess you have to in some ways kind of open yourself to the possibilities. I know some people are just going to automatically kind of like, you know, oh, that's not going to work, you know, the naysay, you know, no matter what, it's always, you know, anything that's not conventional. But you have to kind of like think about some of these wild possibilities that maybe might even, you know, be really difficult, not very likely before you, you know, or you'll never have a chance of actually doing it, you know. And you go in and you realize like, okay, yeah, you do the best research you can, you know, like, okay, there might be a good chance this isn't going to work, and maybe you're not going to, if you don't really have the money, you're not going to spend too much money on it if it seems too ridiculous. But, you know, but anyway, yeah. But the thing with but as far as that ice thing, yeah, that Yeah, I think that has like probably a pretty good chance of working. And the more I can add extra insulation, like wrap some blankets around it, or maybe like even glue some foam around it or something, because I think it's going to be kind of, once it's there, it's going to be kind of like in a spot where it's not, I'm planning, it's probably not going to move, and I'm just going to like fill it with water. And then I think that, so like, I mean, if you put a lot of, the more insulation you put around it, the longer that water's going to last. And then I thought about even doing something like, what I would do is maybe put a lot of foam near the top, put a whole box around it, but then near the top have like an extra layer of foam like that between the, and then at the bottom have less. And then what I could do is have a little container for putting stuff like, so what it would be is you'd put stuff like, some food, stuff that maybe doesn't need to be refrigerated, but stuff that'll be ruined if it's frozen. Like I think like canned goods will get ruined if they get frozen and stuff. So I think what would happen is then the bottom would basically stay like a little bit above freezing if you did that. So it's kind of like a reverse refrigerator type thing, which that's something I had wondered about too. I hadn't found out about. I know they have like these Dometic refrigerators, and stuff like that, but which I don't know if I'd get because they're too expensive. But I thought about like they need like a refrigerator that's also made to like if it gets too cold, like it starts like heating it, because that's made for like cold weather too. So I mean, now you can always with the refrigerator, you put like if you have enough room to put like a gallon or less of water, the water like that'll kind of like freeze too. That'll keep it like right around freezing. Well, back in the old days, people used to like in their cellars and stuff, they'd put like now a lot of cellars, of course, will just stay above freezing, but let's just say it was one that wasn't deep enough. They would put like a big fill a big tub of water, and that would kind of keep it from the stuff from freezing in there. And then what they do is they citrus, like when they grow citrus, like when they grow oranges and stuff in Florida, like let's say if they know there's a freeze coming, and there's what they'll do is they'll like go and spray water on the oranges, and then what'll happen is it'll just like the outside will freeze and it'll form kind of like a shell, but then on it, then it won't, but the inside of the thing won't freeze. So it's kind of like you let that water freeze first, so anyway, okay, let's see. Okay, already 17 minutes in and haven't stopped to talk about freezing and stuff. Okay, so let's see what else I want to talk about here. Yeah, so I was just thinking about like, it's kind of funny, since YouTube got rid of that 10-minute limit, people started putting a lot longer videos, and some people, it gets kind of boring, and I know it's like usually it's good to have something short and sweet, but that's why I'm going to try to put this index in, so hopefully as an experiment and see if maybe some people want to watch it and just they can look for just the part that interests them. But it's kind of funny because I have some people that I like listening to that maybe I could almost listen to their ramblings forever. But it's just kind of like I think everybody's personality might resonate with somebody else. Because it seems like, because I had certain groups of people in the past that maybe really liked me and thought I was funny. Like I think like when I was going to school for physics, and because I went to this it was actually a PhD program, but I didn't end up making it through. I only made it like the first 2 years, but got a master's. But anyway, but I guess I liked that just because but they always thought I was the funniest guy. Maybe it was kind of stupid, but maybe you wonder sometimes if people were laughing at you or not with you. But it was I was always like, just because maybe I was just the guy. Because this is a group of physics people who are like a weird group to begin with, and then I was like maybe about the weirdest guy, like the king weirdo out of the group, so who come up with the most outrageous stuff. Part of that because I was just, it was a way of dealing with stress, it was just make, I think, I always kind of make humor, like out of stressful situations, I can always kind of make humor out of it. Like I had this thing a couple of years ago, like where I fell off a roof and I broke my arm and leg, and then it wasn't long, I was making jokes like going to while in the ambulance, just kind of like, it was kind of hard, but it was maybe more jokes after they gave me some pills, but it's just like, but it was kind of funny. There's this one doctor, he's like this southern guy, he's like, I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna hurt, when he had to reset and then he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you this pill, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna basically make you not really care about the pain, but I cared. It still hurt like hell. Crossing the Boone Bridge here in St. Louis County, so we're past like the first stage of the massive traffic jam. I think maybe when I get on 270 south, it won't be so bad, because that's kind of going across. Looks like the Missouri is kind of frozen. Can't really show you that right now, but definitely not going to walk across it. But anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, but you might have like certain people you just resonate with, and maybe, you know, so I know, and I could be, you know, in my personality, I can be maybe more funnier at different times or not, you know, it just kind of depends on the mood, you know, and it seems like maybe these YouTube videos, I could do better as far as like talking, just not, it seems like the times I've tried to have like a script or something hasn't really worked. I mean, so I think it's better just to have a few bullet points, you know, just on a sheet, because anytime I just, so I mean, I just have to leave it in there. Yeah, and I know, I mean, I can talk forever, and then I know I do have a lot of ums and I don't know if you want to, the way I talk, is it called stuttering, or it's more like stammering, where you kind of like think like you know, kind of, but I use a lot of filler words. I use the word like kind of like a punctuation mark kind of thing, so it's like, you know, yeah, see, I just can't stop saying the word like for a second. But yeah, if we had some machine that could just like take the filler, automatically take the filler words out. So we'll just see, just put these things in, and like I said, you know, it's oh, you know, that's another one I say, and just see who wants to see it, you know, that's just how it goes. I mean, some people you're gonna, I mean, I think I'm up to about 160 subscribers, which I guess is kind of coming along. That's not too bad, but I mean, I know it's not, that doesn't necessarily mean you have a lot of people who are constantly watching you, and because I mean, it's real easy just to click subscribe, especially if you just liked a particular video a person did and you're looking for more like that. Like so far, if you got onto my channel, it's probably because you liked that video I did on map called New to Dwelling Maps, and then the other one I did was pretty popular, was that one about the is it basically saying it's basically impossible to heat with batteries, which I've kind of gone back on that a little bit. I think it's a little more possible after I've seen like how well the insulation works on my van. But so anyway, yeah, so I'm thinking, so between those two, that's probably 90% of all the views I've had is with those two, and then I had a few other. So basically, most of the stuff I've done that's more that people have liked, that I've had a lot of views, likes, and you know, and comments and views, have been more, yeah, the informational videos that I've done, which, you know, I guess that's more of my skill is doing the informational videos. But I mean, of course, I haven't really been on too many trips, and they have been only been on the one trip, and it's not that interesting. But I mean, you know, but I'd like to get into more. I'd like to get more views on the more of my journeys and personal type stuff. I mean, because I don't know. I think sometimes I don't want to be just like the guy who like knows all these facts and just like, oh, you know, kind of like the kid. Oh, you know, Columbus sailed in 1492, and you heard the Santa Maria. You know, just like in, you know, I don't want to be like that person, like just like a assemblage of facts. I mean, I want to be like maybe kind of like we're seen as a person that has something to say, something like redeeming or something, you know, or maybe something personally interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm an introvert, not like a real super people person or whatever, but still, I mean, I do have, you know, I like to talk to people and stuff. I think it's just and everything, and share my experience. But I also, I don't want it to be like a big I want to be careful not to make it, I want to make it like this hobby, but I don't want to make it too much like an obsession or thinking I'm going to make money, because I know that there's not much, well, first of all, there's not much chance of making money nowadays on something like this, really. I mean, well, especially like a van dwelling channel, that's pretty tough to get into. But probably YouTube in general, I know they've made it harder, because, you know, it's always been harder, anything that's kind of like artistic or something like that, or anything where there's fame involved, right? I mean, there's always been like all these people in LA that are waitresses trying to be get into acting and stuff. I mean, but YouTube kind of like made that experience, kind of mass marketed that experience, made it to where now there's all kinds of people who can kind of like almost know how that feels on a smaller scale. Makes it more where the common person can now feel like this kind of like, oh man, what's going to happen to my 91 subscriber, you know, type thing. And then, you know, they're kind of like, I call it like micro-celebrities. So it's this, yeah, these micro, so it's like, you know, okay, I got my 30,000 people who are, I mean, so if you have somebody like in YouTube, if you're a van dwelling guy, if you have like 30,000 subscribers, I mean, that's like, you know, you're pretty good. That's like what Into the Mystery 13 has. And so, you know, you're a micro celebrity. I mean, it's not like you don't have like millions of people like in where you get mobbed on the street all the time. Occasionally you'll run into somebody who know who you are, but it's not like they're like the old time celebrities. But, you know, it's enough to where you have a certain amount of that fame, and it's, you know, enough where where every time you do a video, you're going to get like probably more comments than you can hardly reply to, and that sort of thing. If you know like that, but yeah, it's the micro celebrities. Well, maybe that would have been considered like 30,000 people. That would have been considered big time in like ancient times, like in one of these like Greek theaters or something. It would be a celebrity. There you go. So anyway, but yeah, so I just want to make it kind of relaxed and kind of do these things and not get too upset about, you know, how many subscribers I have and stuff, and not make that, you know, like a big, like, you know, pride type thing, you know. I mean, you know, because I mean, you know, like what is it, like, remember the movie Pulp Fiction? Pride, you'll feel that sting of pride. Pride always hurts, it never helps, you know. So it's just that kind of yeah, it just, so maybe some way of, so that's a question too. Maybe I'll make that an official thing, like, well, you know, why am I doing this YouTube? And I guess, I mean, yeah, okay, part of it is you got to say it's like everybody, you got to admit it's because you're trying to maybe get a little bit of attention or something, or get so many people to care about, you know, what you're doing. But I mean, it's, yeah, just a way of kind of sharing my experience. Maybe if I make a video that's useful, I mean, have people say like, oh, hey, that's interesting, or, you know, or maybe help some people, you know, I don't know. And then sense of community, you can kind of maybe meet some other van dwellers by doing it, get some experiences. I mean, maybe you don't feel so much, because I think a lot of us, because I think I probably always had kind of like this van dwelling thing where it interests me. I mean, for a while, I mean, but it was this sort of thing. But maybe it's just when I started watching the YouTube videos, probably like about a year ago, that I started thinking, oh, there's actually people, you know, living in vans full time, which I'm not really looking to do. I'm just kind of looking to do it part time. But even if you're doing it part time and driving around with this thing, I mean, it's still gonna, there's a stigma against it, you know. It's like like my sister was saying, like, oh, hey, you know, I mean, she's got like a nice family, so just so you know, you got to be careful with your van. Like, don't be like going near schools, or don't be like, you know, doing, you know, saying like, hey, take a look at my vans, kids, or, you know, I mean, it's like, okay, there's that stigma. I mean, there's always a big stigma against that. I mean, I gotta look at the statistics sometime, but, you know, it's probably like there's probably been like about 2 times in the last 5 years that any van related, like, you know, thing like that happened, you know, of like pedophilia or like rape has even happened, if at all. I mean, probably, I mean, yeah, you got it blacked out. Well, how about people have their house blacked out? I mean, do you think like, oh man, why do you have curtains, man? You must be like doing some bad stuff in there, you know. It's like in your house. I mean, so it's like, you know, I don't know. There's always a lot of paranoia with these things. Like, it's sort of like these things, like, a lot of these things are urban legends. Like, okay, like the thing with Halloween. Remember, like when we were kids, it's always like, oh, there's always these rumors, like, oh man, people are putting poison in candy and stuff like that, and razor blades. And, you know, like, it turned out like Snopes did a thing, and it turns out there's never ever been like a single at least last time I read it, a single documented case of anybody actually putting poison in Halloween candy. And there's only one time, but you know what it was? It was actually some guy who did it because he was kind of trying to take advantage of the myth, because he wanted to like have some excuse to get out of like child, or what do you call it, child support. Yeah, so he was doing that. And then, which I think actually, wasn't that like that John Malvo guy, or who was going around, that sniper? Wasn't that his reason? He wanted to kill his ex-wife, but so he wanted to make it look more realistic, so he killed a bunch of other people first, was the idea, you know. So yeah, so anyway, it's just these myths that people say, like, you know, there's all these things, like these urban legends about, oh, this is going to happen, and something that's like, and it turns out like it's never happened, you know. Like, you know, go to, yeah, like Snopes was one of my early favorite sites on the internet. Like when I looked at it, I mean, it's kind of like, kind of annoying because it's always been one of the sites that has like the most ads and stuff, but it's but yeah, it was like there's so many of these things. So yeah, I mean, it's like, what was my point there? Yeah, so the about my sister. Let's see, I was talking about my sister, and then so anyway, so even if you just van dwell, like, and occasionally go on a trip and you're driving around this thing, some people are gonna kind of look down on it, which is, you know, kind of like where you might want to keep it on the low and not really mention it too much. I mean, although maybe, I don't know, maybe there's another school of thought. Maybe it'd be better just to be like the Just Incredible thing, where you just own it, you know. And then, I don't know, there's a great divide in the school of van dwelling. So it's kind of like the split between like maybe like Shiites and Sunnis or something like that, or, you know, like schools of thought, like on what is it better just to be stealth or not to stealth? You know, because his thing is just to be proud of it, just drive around your nice RV and then show people it's cool, you know. But of course, he's in a city where people know about it a lot more. So, yeah, it's but maybe, well, I guess it helps if there's people like, you got to point them to like the van dwelling channels where like the people seem like normal who do the stuff, and then it just seems the guy who seems more cool. And there's certain things like obviously, like the guy. Okay, if the guy has a girl with him, obviously the guy automatically seems cooler, and then that's like goes with everything. And then oh yeah, that's the thing. Say you're like into rock climbing, like yeah, I do it because I'm a rock climbing, scuba diving surfer. You know, that's like a thing. It always sounds more cool if you say that you're doing it because of some sport, you know, and then, or, you know, and I always wonder about this thing about surfing, you know, it kind of seemed like surfing, it's one of these things that people, I don't know if it's like from the Beach Boys or something, you know, it's just one of these things that people like, just say because it makes them sound cool to say like I like to surf all the time. I don't know. I think I'm not a real athletic guy, but I think I get kind of bored of it pretty quick, you know, like, okay, you stand on this thing and okay, this wave, you know, I don't know. I mean, how making that like your number one, I just want to surf all the time, go up and down the coast. I mean, yeah, why? It's like, I don't see, like, you know, okay, I guess the only thing I maybe like that is I like sailing, so maybe I could see wanting to travel around a lot and have like, you know, I thought it'd be cool if you had some kind of like inflatable sailboat that'd be real easy to carry in the van. So maybe that's my type of thing with surfing, you know. I guess I like that because it's maybe something that's kind of cool. It takes some skill and you're out in the water, but it's not like something that's super active, you know. It's like, unless you're like in some Olympic type deal where you're all like having to shift things, and, you know, but a lot, you know, but I mean, well, the whole thing, like, the ocean's okay, but I think it's just kind of like, I mean, I kind of don't like swimming in salt water is kind of not real enjoyable to begin with, and then and I don't know, the whole sunbathing thing, yeah, I don't really like sunbathe. I mean, maybe just because I'm pretty light complected. I mean, I don't know, I don't really get much enjoyable. That doesn't really matter that much to me. I mean, especially it's like, you know how you see, like, it always makes people age quicker. Like, yeah, the best place to be is Duluth, Minnesota. Well, actually, we got the lake there, so we got a beach there. It's the largest freshwater. What do they say? The largest freshwater sandbar in the world. They always see, we got a lot of things that were like at the biggest in the world because you add the like adjective saltwater on it. So we got like the largest saltwater aquarium, the largest freshwater sandbar in the world that blocks off Duluth Harbor. Let's see. Then we got the largest freshwater estuary in the world. I mean, that term I always thought was a little bit suspicious. I mean, because, you know, the whole definition of an estuary was supposed to be that it was a place where saltwater and freshwater are mixing. But I guess what they take as an analogy is there's a place on the St. Louis River where it like mixes with where like the Lake Superior water mixes like with the river water, and, you know, so anyway, but yeah, okay, so I'm still talking, and we're Manchester and 270. We're getting into like, this was yeah, that, oh shoot, can I show that mall? I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I can't really see with that dove there. That's been there a really long time. I remember seeing that when I was a kid. They kind of like, I think they rebuilt that whole mall, West County Mall. And this was probably, I guess this was really like kind of like the outer edges of West County at one point, but now it goes a lot further. But well, I think like Baldwin and some of those towns like Baldwin, but I think they've been there a long time. West County, for the most part, a very, you know, rich area for the most part. And then let's see, what else is on my little list? This is my little like list, like it was like that one time like where, I mean, maybe we've all done that in the past, like when we were like a kid or something, maybe, or maybe not, where we're like talking to some girl on the phone, like having like some little list, just, you know. And then I remember like George Seinfeld on Seinfeld, he had that list, and then he says, this is my list. So if I'm talking, he says, what is he read the list. I drive really well in reverse or something like that. That was like the funniest show. I used to work at some place right around here, around Doherty Ferry. Let's see. So I just want to kind of relax on these things and not get too hung up on, like, you know, just remember, like and subscribe, you know, that kind of, I mean, when you start hearing that stuff, it kind of makes you kind of sick, and then you realize like these ones like were like, okay, well now what do you guys think of it? I mean, oh yeah, that's what it is. They're just trying to get their engagement up, and I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe my attitude would change if I started getting popular, and then where I actually make some money off it. But I don't know. It's but I mean, if I'm going to do these trips, at least for now, knock on wood, I still have that I have that job that I can just travel and be a digital nomad. Okay, there you go. You got to have tell people you're a digital nomad, but I don't know how many of them know what it means. But you got to have something to makes it sound better than I drive around in my van, And then but anyway, I might just. I think it's like 40 minutes already, so hope for that index. Let's see, is there anything else I thought might be good? Let's see. Subby might do video intro. Okay, well I don't know. I guess maybe I mentioned everything that was on the list, but maybe I'll just kind of keep this rolling, huh? Well, this is actually this is kind of like the equivalent of one of those live stream ones, but which I've enjoyed some of those. Some people traveling around Well, some of the guys Into the Mystery 13, I liked a lot of his old ones where he's just driving around. I think he'd probably be a good guy for just doing those live streams, him and Evie, and then yeah, I guess there's always been something so before YouTube there was AM radio, and then that was talk. I used to listen to that a lot. That was kind of a good thing to listen to, when you're kind of home and just kind of kept you company and whatever. And then especially because I used to always stay up real late all the time. And then, so that was good when I used to, listen to those. And then I'd go on some trip someplace, and then I could hear KMOX radio, because it was, we kind of fade in and out depending on the conditions of this. And then it would always at night it would be, because that's how it is. I mean, with the signals, they bounce off the ionosphere, and the atmosphere expands it. I guess it basically expands at night, and then so you can hear, so it'll skip, so you can hear those. You can hear some of those radio signals really a long time far at night, and especially in the winter. That's why some of those stations would they have to cut their power back at a certain time, because then so they don't start with their license, they're not allowed to be going outside a certain area. And then shortwave. I had a shortwave radio for a little bit. That was I think I didn't really know how to do the antenna right. I think maybe I was trying to make it more complicated. I think some guy explained it later, but it was too late. But it was but I think I was picking up stations in Taiwan and stuff like that. It was oh, what was that? That was mentioned in The Simpsons. That one up, he says you can just put that next to your shortwave. What was it? Oh, it's because there was some hobby that Bart was into it. Oh no, and then Homer's if something's too hard, quit. You could just put that next to your karate outfit and your shortwave radio. Man, there's a lot of people broken down today. It's forget drive around a big city, how many of these broken down cars you run into. It's well, and sometimes I notice one thing, they'll leave it on the highway for 3 days or something like that, and nothing will happen. And then if you go camping someplace you're not supposed to, and then you leave your car on the side of the road, then there'll be a sheriff come there at 5. Someone will be calling the sheriff. He'll be there in 5 minutes, and then it's almost the cops in GTA 5 or something, where it's you'll be out in the middle of nowhere, then they just show up out of nowhere. Oh yeah, GTA 5. That was something I kind of got into recently. So I guess that's about the only game I've really been playing, modern game, just because my roommate's had this. I've lived with him for a while, and he's had this PlayStation, and I guess he doesn't really play as much as he used to, but I guess at certain times. But he had GTA 5, and yeah, so I had never really been into playing modern systems much, but at all, So, and then recently I was back St. Louis. I was playing with my brother-in-law Jeff, and he got me introduced to them, so I've been kind of playing that. Yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, there's a lot of cussing and everything in it, but some of the stuff, but it's but it's but it's got a lot of good. I mean, well, actually, I guess if they wanted to make it clean, they could just cut it and just make it to where cut out the cussing, and then just have it to where maybe just do stuff like the flight simulator and stuff. I've enjoyed lately the doing the stuff, doing a lot, just kind of flying around the area a little bit, doing free roam in helicopter. I kept, well, there's that one on that military base. You can steal that jet, and I finally managed to do that. I kept trying to do that over and over again. It was tough to do. I think, well, part of it is I think I wasn't reading those instruments correctly, and I didn't know like what I was doing is actually flying upside down, because that's a hard thing to do. Like, because I knew, like, because I saw the thing online that what you're supposed to do is just you steal the plane, then you just fly like straight up, and then eventually you'll lose them, but lose the people at the base, but yeah, and then it takes a while too, because once you once you get killed, then you respawn like pretty far away at like this hospital, and that I think it's called Paleto Bay, and that's then you got like drive all the way back over there, and then yeah. Now I did it like actually the other day. It was I was back in town. We were playing it. I did it on the Xbox, which was a little tough because those controls are kind of different than a PS4. So for some reason, like that Franklin's superpower is like this secret power is like when you press it, you can slow down time, but then you press those two like analog buttons. But then I don't know, it wasn't working too well on the Xbox. But plus, it's like the Xbox, like those buttons are like not. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I was doing it wrong. Maybe it's not exactly the same. But there's Deer Bergs and there's these bluffs here. Yeah, Missouri has a lot of these bluffs. These I guess it's limestone is. You hear certain stuff and you turn out like limestone. Oh no, it's really dolomite, or it's some. It's like there's 10 different types of. Anyway, we have more like in Duluth. We have. It's more like this. It's this igneous rock, which I don't know that much about, but okay, that's basically, I think that's stuff that's caused by volcanoes. Or maybe there's a little bit, there's like igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary. But okay, sedimentary is the stuff that's caused by sediments being laid down by water, and that's like the weakest stuff. And then so areas like with that's going to usually have more caves and everything. And well, if it's something like where it's water soluble, but then like up in Duluth, this is like this igneous rock. They call it Precambrian rock is what they call it, but because we're on the part that they call the Canadian Shield, and it's kind of interesting. I kept for a while, like I'll learn some new term, like that interesting thing that I keep like that'll be my latest thing. Like I'll keep like mentioning to people a lot. But so the Canadian Shield, like the name implies, is mostly in Canada, but a small part of it comes down into Minnesota, and then I think part of it comes down someplace into New England, but it takes up a really large part of Canada, and it's mostly that hard rock, okay, that igneous rock, and it's also and then the bedrock is really close to the soil, and so because of that, that's part of why like the farming's not very good on it. It's not. I guess it's because of maybe the cold affects it too, but it's also that soil, because I think there's still there's still some parts of like Canada that are at that latitude where there's still good farming, but that are not on the Canadian Shield, and then there's also mining. Okay, so it tends to be sparsely populated. The area of the Canadian Shield, and there's other shield areas around the world too that are similar. They tend to be sparsely populated, and they also tend to be they're rocky, lots of rocky outcrops, and a lot of them are really nice looking. And then you have, you also have mining. So basically, it's kind of like what I'd call it is, yeah, like it can be classified in a lot of, it's like a wasteland type area, like kind of like deserts or wastelands, and shield areas or wastelands. There's different parts of the world that we can classify as wastelands, as far as like just said, they're areas that aren't very good for like settling. They're usually low in population, but I'm kind of happy that these wastelands exist, because otherwise there'd be like no place left to camp and stuff. There'd be hardly no area that wasn't super populated and everything, because if the whole world was all like really good farmland and stuff, then it'd just be like every area would just look like Iowa. And I'm not insulting Iowa, I've mentioned that before, that maybe there's good parts of it, or some of these farm states, or Illinois. I mean, they're nice in their way, but I'm just saying, but there's not much. It's mostly like not much private land. The land is kind of nondescript for the most part, but it can be enjoyable in some ways. But it's also like there's not much like public land. That's the main thing. It's just so if you live in one of those states, you gotta really drive a long ways to find some public land. Now some of them do have camping, like like I was mentioning how when I was in Nebraska, how they don't have a lot of public land, but but of course a lot of that is like what I consider like a wasteland too. But I don't know, because of the history, it must be like there's just a few like guys who own like 1 million acres and like, you know, so to graze like 10 cows on it, you know. But and then so anyway, but Nebraska doesn't have a lot of public land, but it seemed like they did a good job as far as making a fair amount of like areas you could camp and everything, and it seemed like it was RV friendly. Oh yeah, here's that used to be a Kmart there. I started coming out to this area like back when I was in high school. I had this friend who lived out in this area, and we used to like go to that Kmart and stuff, and then I remember that